Welcome back to the STLI podcast. I'm Grace. I'm learning names still, apparently. And I'm here with Diana, and I'm here with Amanda. And we are going to be talking today about syllabi, which is, I guess, the all-consuming, scary thing for students and faculty alike. So kind of going back to what we were talking about with the students, a lot of them voiced that when it comes to syllabi, the most important thing for a student is that it is efficient, that we don't have a ton of excess information in there, that we're kind of getting right down to the details, and that we're not like going over the top to be scary. Some students expressed how, when they have a little note about this class is impossible, you're going to fail, it really kind of turns them away from wanting to take the course. So I guess on the other side of this, when you all are consulting faculty, what is the approach that you encourage them to take with their syllabi?
Okay, so one of the points that we were discussing earlier is just to encourage faculty to be reflective about how they intend or anticipate students will use the syllabus as a tool. So rather than thinking of it as this like document that just grows longer and longer every time you reteach the course and copy and paste a new paragraph in, to really take a look at it and see what is relevant, what is useful, what do I know my students want to see in here, and then to consider if there are other related pieces of information that they want to share with their students that they consider a supplemental document, a secondary document, the other ways that they have to communicate with students.
Yeah, and I would just add, making sure that it's engaging and inviting, and kind of going back to those scary statements. I try to always tell faculty, once they've really thought about that roadmap and letting students know what to expect in the course and outlining the schedule of the course, what elements in that, the student said 2 pages is kind of the prime syllabus. So in those 2 pages, how are you inviting them to engage in your course and thinking about learning in your course? And how is it accessible to everyone? And so just keeping like a neutral or positive tone throughout. Even when you're talking about your policies or your office hours or deadlines, it's okay to have firm policies and deadlines, but if you can do it in a way that says, I'm willing to be flexible on certain things, like the office hours. That was one thing the students talked about was, these are the only office hours and the only times I can meet with students, is kind of what it's communicating when you say office hours are 11 to 12 on Fridays. And that's hard for a lot of students who are maybe working a job and going to school full time, and that's not the time. That communicates to the student that that's the only time you're willing to meet with them. So maybe adding in with those office hours, like, or by request at other times, or something like that, that just communicates, I have these expectations, here's what you can expect from the class. However, if you need other additional help or resources, like, I'm here for that. I think that's important to add in there as well.
I think one thing that really stood out to me in listening to the students is just how much significance they place on the syllabus, because I think that's something that instructors might tend to think of as like, oh, this is a document that I'm expected to produce or to distribute, but they're not necessarily always reflecting and examining it in that really like thoughtful way of, oh wow, this is a big deal for students when they get it, and so then there's that tendency to just have, oh, I'll put my office hours on there, I checked that box, without, I know one student mentioned the example of being really appreciative of, like, if deadlines were flexible or subject to move, having that stated up front so that they can kind of plan their other obligations and their life around that, rather than being surprised, like, oh, if you always had the intention to make this flexible, why didn't you state that up front?
And I think now I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I had a really good one, and it was while you were talking, and I was like, I feel that
flexible,
way too.
stating up front.
It's
I
good.
mean, how much time and effort should a professor put into their syllabus creation? Like, is that the most important thing in starting out a class?
Train came back.
Okay.
The train's here.
Train's here.
Train's here. Go for it.
Here we go. So I think, and that I'll kind of answer your question, Roy. With the, it's a box I have to check. It's something that they're expected to do. So the instructor says, okay, I got to do the syllabus, I got to check the box, we're required to give them. And I think that many professors have, especially when you have a full course load, that's what you're doing. You're like, all right, where's my syllabus from last year? Let me change out some dates in it, and let me put it back out there to students, check the box, I made the requirement, I have the thing. And yeah, recognizing that we do need to take the time to be creative in how we produce a syllabus to almost market the course. Because students really are, especially after listening to that conversation with the students, wow, I had no idea they were really critiquing each syllabus like that, but they are. And so if they're looking to take your course and they look at the syllabus and it's last year's date is on it because clearly you just copied what you gave to students last year, that's not personal to them. It doesn't say, I've thought about you, my future student, and what I'm going to prepare for you for this upcoming course. And that is important to them. So really taking the time to not think about what you did last year, but what is it you're going to offer for your students that are coming into you this next semester?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And one of the terms that the students used in the conversation was it's a contract. A syllabus is a contract between you, the professor, and me as your student. And so therefore it needs to feel personal. It needs to feel like it's between the two of us. And they offered a couple suggestions on how they felt like that could maybe be. Some suggested having separate documents. Some suggested, maybe having like one place where like the schedule is for the class and then one where all the policies are. From like a faculty perspective, is that something that you think like various faculty would be willing to do? Or is that kind of more of like a pipe dream that, students are just wanting it to all be a certain way?
I think most of the faculty I've had conversations with are very student-centered. Very responsive to what students find, helpful, what matters to them. So, I can't really think of any examples of faculty who wouldn't be responsive to like, oh, okay, maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe the reason I'm spending hours and hours updating my syllabi each semester is because they're 12-page documents with a bunch of unnecessary stuff in them. Whereas if they were really more like, a selling, marketing tool for the class with some essential info, that's a lot quicker to update, and it's what students want to see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen like a minimalist syllabus? Something that's just like the most core basic, this is what you need to know. And is there such a thing?
Yeah, I did work with a professor last year, and she had one page that really outlined like, this is the course, here are the topics we're going to cover, and the major assignments. The second page, or extra document, was a full schedule of each unit, each week, what they would be doing. And a lot of the students from the interview, that was something they talked about, was it is so nice to have that agenda that each week going into the course, like what readings we're going to do, what assignments are going to be that week, and being able to look at that for an entire semester. And especially when you've got multiple courses at one time and a busy schedule, you can, okay, well, I know that, in 3 weeks I have this test on this day, and I'm going to do these readings, and we have to do this project, and they can start to, be more efficient with their time and map out on their schedules when they can work on each course that they're in. So I think that's something that is great to have in your syllabus. So if you have maybe a one-page quick, here's what's happening in the course, but then you have a detailed schedule of laying out exactly what's happening week by week, I think that would be really a helpful way to do it. And that's how she had it laid out, and it looked great.
Okay, cool. Yep.
Yeah. I think something else, just as you were speaking, it was kind of reminding me of this. Sometimes we talk about how it's important for there to be flexibility. The students really appreciate that. They appreciate knowing when things are going to change. And if one semester I had a professor who kept their syllabus in a Google Doc, and we all had the link. And so it became like this living document. And as changes were made to the course, as we got behind, as we got ahead, as the professor felt maybe this reading isn't important, we just had to go back to that link, and we could see in real time updated, okay, this was removed, this has been moved, to the next class. You don't have to worry about it then. And I wonder if maybe trying to find a way that we could even make the format of a syllabus more flexible for professors, because I think sometimes that can be difficult when we're getting behind in a class. How do we, I don't want to reprint all these syllabi. I can tell the class, okay, mark this here, move this to this. But I think sometimes even finding ways that we can make it easier on the professor's end to have it update in real time. That might be something interesting to discuss.
I love that. I love the idea of it just being one living document that's easy to change and everyone has the link to it. I think that's a great way to do it.
But I need us to track the changes.
Track changes.
Like I need to use strike through or comment or something, suggesting mode, whatever. Because I wrote it on my planner that the assignment was due on the 14th. So if we're going to change that, don't gaslight me. Don't gaslight me.
Do you write in pen in your planner?
Yeah, of course.
Oh no, I write in pencil.
Okay.
I'm flexible like that.
Okay.
Maybe start writing in pencil. You can erase it.
I've never associated the syllabus with gaslighting.
Well, if you're going to change the date, then I'm going to be wondering, wait, I could have sworn we had a test on the 14th. And now I'm looking and it says it's on the 21st.
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
So you'd have to, as a professor, you'd have to highlight that. You'd have to say, not only would you have to change it, but you'd have to email, like you were talking about, email, hey, I've made these changes, take a look.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah. One thing I did when I was back in my day of being in the classroom, so I had a syllabus, but I didn't have specific dates on it. I just had kind of like an overview and the different units and what we would read and about the time frame or what unit it would fall in. And then I gave out, I know this is a lot, but I would give out weekly agendas. And so the weekly agendas that I posted always could change, right? So if the weekly agenda I sent out by Friday, we did not get to everything from that week. When I went to do the agenda for the next week, I hadn't given that to them yet or posted it anywhere yet, so I could easily take what we had on the agenda the previous week on a Friday, and now what was on Friday that we didn't get to is going to become my Monday the following week, and then I posted that agenda. So that's another way, if you don't want to have one syllabus where you're changing the dates like that. You could just have an overview of the types of things you'll do and in sequential order, and then just give weekly updates on the actual agenda. If you're in the type of class, because again, that matters too, right? Some classes you're going to have more flexibility than in others, and depending on the pacing and if it's online and if it's in person or if it's hybrid, there's a lot that affects your ability to be that flexible. So it's definitely not for everyone.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you're consulting a faculty member, what are some red flags if they hand you a syllabus and they're like, okay, this is my syllabus? What are some things that you see and you're like, oh, no, we're not doing that?
Usually if they ask for feedback, that's already a green flag because they're aware that they need to think about it.
Self-awareness
It's the ones
is key.
who are like, the syllabus is done. I've had that posted for 5 years. That's the red flag.
Yeah, it still says 1997 on this.
It's scanned in. Okay.
The font, I love that so many of the students picked up on font. How I did not realize how serious font was to students. I mean, it's serious to me, but I didn't know it was that serious to the students. So, the look of it, the design, how pretty it looks, is something that, if I see a lot of typos or the font or it's a different font and different sizes on the first page they hand me or send to me, that's probably a red flag. So the formatting would be a red flag. Dates not being updated.
When you see the numbers are in a different font than the month, because then you know that they really just went in and updated it for the semester. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it to a professor that you consult with, is it a surprise to some that the syllabus is so important? Do you think that some professors have just kind of, oh, it's just the syllabus? And how do you as a consultant go about saying, look at this syllabus? How do you do that?
Well, yeah, I do think, like we were saying before, it's just a box to check. So I think that has kind of been the way it has been in the past. And I don't think students always were looking so deeply at the syllabus. I think that's new. that they're really taking the time. And one of those reasons is there are so many opportunities to learn. They can go on the internet and learn. They can take an online course. They can choose from a bunch of different professors to take this same course. I mean, there's so much opportunity for learning that students kind of have the power now, right? And they can make those decisions. So they are looking into things like the syllabus. So it is becoming more and more important that you showcase what kind of person you are and what kind of course you run, and that helps them select your course or not. So I think it is becoming more important, and they need to think of those things. And that is a shock still, I think, to some professors, that's something to really think about, because in the past it's been, well, this is the one my department uses, and I came to William & Mary and this is what they handed me that they've given out, so I'm kind of just copying it and putting in my own information, and the only thing students care about is grades and due dates, so that's what I need to put on here, or what books they have to buy. That's not true anymore. They care about so much more than that. They care how inclusive of a classroom you have. They care about how accessible you are and how flexible you are, how engaging the course is going to be, how organized you are, because in this fast-paced world, they know that they need to be organized. So they're evaluating your syllabus for all of those things.
Is there also like a design savvy kind of thing? I mean, like when I've seen PowerPoints or a spreadsheet done by somebody who loves to do spreadsheets, it's like, oh, this person knows what they're doing. They know that this is going to be pleasing to the eye, this is going to be very clear, versus somebody who just does a quick, just black and white spreadsheet. How important is the design of your course to a student?
Sorry, he said spreadsheet and PowerPoint.
I know,
glazed over. I don't know. I stopped listening.
Oh, really? Because I just, like, that really,
Great, you field this one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got
Excel.
excited over here. Okay, so.
I didn't know you got so jazzed about Excel spreadsheets. How did I not know this about you?
Flushed
I like have
now.
internal hives.
Okay.
Oh, pivot tables. Ooh.
What was the question? Okay.
How important is the design of your course reflected in the syllabus? How
Yeah.
important is that to a student? Because it sounds like it's important from their conversations and from what Grace was saying.
I think it's all part of that sort of first impression, and like we were talking about the syllabus being almost a marketing tool for the course, and particularly, some of the students shared that looking at the syllabus made them either consider or actually drop courses at some points based on their impression, and I'm sure in combination with the experience of that, first class session, like, does this align with the professor? So, I think thinking of it as another layer of the course culture and like the climate that you're going to be trying to develop as an instructor, like that is part of the tool. And if what you're going for in your course is free-flowing chaos, then your syllabus might reflect that, but know that creates some anxiety for a lot of our students. And so if your goal is to be really clear about, by the end of this course, you will learn these things, you will be able to do these things, you will know this and have this skill set, and here are some important ways that you're going to demonstrate to me that you've met those objectives, that should be really evident in the first, 1 or 2 pages of the document. And really, it doesn't need to be a lot longer than that. And back to your point about red flags with someone asking questions about how can I improve my syllabus, if it is 10 or 11 pages, why? Let's, if I can't kind of at a glance get a feel for what is this course and what is it going to be like to spend this time together this semester, let's work on that. Let's make that more prominent and obvious for students.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that idea of the syllabus as a marketing tool is so important. And this is something that we haven't said on this podcast yet. But students, when they're looking at classes, they look at Rate My Professor. They pull it up. They're going to read about, the professor that they're considering taking a class with. And I have spoken to so many students who have said, well, this professor got mixed reviews. I'm just going to go in, look at the syllabus, and see what I think. So I don't know if professors understand that the syllabus can be kind of like that last, the last thing before a student decides I am or I'm not going to take this course. And so, the idea of really making it marketable, the idea of really appealing to the student directly, and, also understanding. I know that every professor is not the most organized. Some people, I love organization. I enjoy outlining things and, having it all look pretty, but I get that's not everyone's cup of tea. But I do think there's something to be said about having the syllabus be accessible, having it be short, having it be concise, because that might be the determining factor for a student, if they've looked at everything else as to whether or not they're going to take this course.
And at the same time, I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
There's some tension on the table.
I know there is. We'll talk later. They need to be authentic. They need to be themselves on the syllabus, because I don't want to give the impression that when we say marketing tool that we mean sell your course as something that it isn't, but give an accurate representation of what students can expect to get out of the course, and then let them choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we really touched on this, but making sure that there's space on the syllabus to say who you are as a person, where you're coming from. Do you have a dog? Do you have kids? Did you grow up here? Just a little personal story, something like that on the syllabus. I think it's important to put that. I think sometimes, when I've looked at some of the different course syllabi out there and worked with professors, I'll see, the standard where they got their degrees from and how long they've been teaching, which is somewhat important. But I think, the personal story and who you are, that's relatable. That makes me want to work with you or not as well. So I think that's something that they should think of including as well on the syllabus. Let them get to know you a little bit before they have to make this decision on, do they want to spend an entire semester with you? Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because, even though it's important to maybe know where your professor graduated or what books they've written and all these other, achievements, from the student's perspective, I don't really relate to that. I've not written tons of books on this subject. I want to know who you are as a person, and I think that personal connection, makes it seem more like I can envision myself in your class this semester because I know a bit about you as a person, not what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I love. You could do it like a STLI workshop. Your syllabus as a marketing device, as a marketing tool. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
Yeah, we have one scheduled. Dates forthcoming.
Really?
You could also go on to STLI Academy and take the course design series micro course on designing a syllabus.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
Again,
that
go to
would be
STLI
great.
Academy.
Yeah, and you could schedule time with a STLI student partner to kind of
give you feedback,
look over your syllabus, give feedback from a student perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So many great resources.
There are so many resources. We're really resourceful around here at STLI.
Thank you. Anything? You want to close down?
Yeah. So I guess just let's go over some big takeaways from today. We've kind of discussed how the syllabus needs to be a marketing tool. It's not necessarily selling something that your class isn't, but it's being authentic to what the course is. It's letting students know what they can expect when they are in your class for the semester. This includes if, dates are going to be flexible, if you as a professor are going to be accessible outside of class times, making that known. We also discussed that it's important to have a bit of a personal piece to the syllabus, kind of let your students know who you are as a professor, connect with them in a way that maybe isn't so, as cold as just like a strict outline could be, because that can kind of be a bit of a turn away for students. We also spoke about how, if you are someone who's design savvy, let that show on your syllabus. Make it aesthetically pleasing to look at. But if that's maybe not your forte, just focusing on a clean syllabus that has been updated, that is a reflection, that doesn't have copy and pasted paragraphs from previous years on it, that makes it very personal to the students that you are having this semester and what they will be learning. Any other takeaways?
I think you did a great job wrapping that
That
up.
was
That was
masterful synthesis.
How did you do that? That's great.
Yeah.
I'm a sponge. I just sit here and absorb.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
doing
Thank
this.
you for having us.
Yeah. I'm going to go make a spreadsheet now.